Winterhold, once a great capital city of Skyrim, now mostly lost to the Sea of Ghosts. Once it enjoyed a thriving economy, now it sits all but abandoned. But though it may be a shell of its former self, it still has the College. The College of Winterhold is a faction of mages within Skyrim, independent from the broader Mages Guild, widely distrusted by the province's Nord population, due to the fact that though the city around them may have crumbled during the great collapse of the 122nd year of the Fourth Era, the college, in a both mysterious and unnatural way, still stands. Yet despite its reputation, the College of Winterhold still sees new admissions, new apprentices, those not just eager to study the arcane arts, but master them. Undoubtedly a noble endeavour in the eyes of a scholarly mage, but without the appropriate level of guidance, such a path is fraught with danger, and perhaps nothing puts emphasis on this more than the story of the College of Winterhold's missing apprentices. So, today's journey begins upon joining the College of Winterhold. And though this is a faction in its own right, you'll likely find yourself doing this as part of the main quest. Admission is fairly straightforward as you can play the Dragonborn card, so Feralda should let you in with relative ease, allowing us to then venture forth across the walkway that looks completely safe and into the college grounds, where undoubtedly the disappointment that is Skyrim's faction quest lines await. Admittedly, it's a bit of a long-winded introduction, especially when you've come here with no interest in joining the college. While Mirabelle Irvine is giving us a nice tour of the college, I spotted this, a note of some description that may or may not be part of a mod called Cutting Room Floor, that restores some of the game's cut content, including the quest regarding these missing apprentices. Nevertheless, here's what the notice says. The college asks that everyone keep an eye out for the previous group of apprentices who have gone missing. As yet, no information has become available. If anyone has any information regarding Ysra, Elastai, Borvir, or Rundi, please speak with me at once. Signed, I presume this is pronounced Finis Gester because Penis Jester is literally the only other thing I can think of. But that's me being juvenile. Nonetheless, we should speak with this senior mage and see what he has to say about this missing apprentice problem of his. The man can be found rather reliably in the Hall of Countenance.
The people of Skyrim have no appreciation for what we do here. Not that I care.
Good to know. Anyway, you posted a notice about some missing apprentices.
Ah, that, yes. The group prior to yours has disappeared entirely. It's possible that there was less than the necessary amount of oversight. That's still being looked into. But we've had no contact with them for quite some time now. Arniel wondered if perhaps they'd somehow managed to get themselves lost in the Outer Realms, but I think that's giving them too much credit.
How long have they been missing?
I hadn't really considered it in terms of time. I suppose it's been at least a month. Let me think. What were they working on? As I recall, Ysra was trying to improve flame cloak spells to better work in Skyrim's harsh environment. Elastai was practicing illusion spells. She was having trouble with the calm spells, I believe, but only ever worked with skeevers. And then there's Borvir and Rundi, twins, though they rarely agreed on anything. Those two boys were obsessed with mead, convinced they could concoct something to compete with Honningbrew. Something about using frost magic to chill the mead for a certain period of time. I felt it was a waste, but the Archmage let them proceed.
So we do get some rather interesting information there. The apprentices have been missing for a while, and each of them were studying something at the time of their disappearance. The Breton also informs us that perhaps there wasn't adequate oversight on their experiments. In other words, despite only effectively being students, they were kind of left to it. Now that doesn't strike me as especially proactive in the welfare of junior members, as we're about to discover how unsafe the practice of magic can get. Now it's up to us to find these missing students, which is part of a quest that initially was cut from the game, albeit very crudely. So you could start it, you just couldn't continue it. Fortunately, the cutting room floor mod re-implements it, however you don't need that to find the students, though it certainly helps. So let's now turn our attention to actually doing that. They're all located around the coastline on the northeastern part of the map, with Ysra being located along the coast halfway between Winterhold and Dawnstar, along a portion of the shore opposing an island upon which sits a barrow. The first indication that you'll be in the right place is the presence of fire. After all, we know she was trying to improve a flame cloak spell. Now, to her credit, it does appear as if she did improve the flame aspect, as she set herself alight so effectively that she's rather comprehensively burned to death and the ground around her is still on fire. In other words, the spell backfired, no pun intended, and as a result she suffered an undeniably horrific fate. It's certainly not the way you'd want to go. On her now well-cooked remains we can find Ysra's necklace, confirming her to be the missing apprentice in question. We can also find a Firecloak spell tome next to her body, and that has a much more ideal effect should we use it on ourselves. Either way, there's no denying Ysra died badly, and you can't help but think that perhaps with some more hands-on supervision from somebody more experienced in this particular school of magic, her experimentation would have had more ideal outcomes, as hinted towards by Finis Gesta. The fact that there are still portions of the ground on fire would suggest that perhaps Ysra hadn't even been dead that long by the time we discovered her, but that could just as easily be deliberate contrivance on Bethesda's part playing the scene up, as just like the others she's been gone from the college for a month. Anyway, I don't suspect she's going to make a miraculous recovery, so let's move on. For the next missing apprentice is at a shrine to Talos that shares an aisle with the tomb of the legendary Ysgramor. If we recall adequately, Elas Tai was practicing an illusion spell and facing some trouble with the calm spell, having it only work on skeevers. Well, here we find the Argonian's remains, surrounded by skeevers where all but one will be alive. By her body there is a scroll of fury and a scroll of calm, suggesting she was using one scroll to turn the skeevers extra feral, and the other to calm them back down. However, something went wrong. The skeevers got out of their cage and attacked, swarming her, killing her, and then killing each other until there was only one survivor, whom we would then have to dispatch. Another death that seems as if it would have been avoidable had the college's more senior members had been more present during this apprentice's experimentations. Elas Tai's ring can be found upon one of the lanterns at the base of the Talos statue, leaving us with only two more apprentices to locate, the Nord brothers Borvir and Rundi, who were studying magic to innovate within the mead business. And I mean, fair enough. The first of the brothers is located just south of the College of Winterhold, and is meant to spawn within a circle that is decorated with some lovely explosive runes. However, it would appear as if for me Rundi's remains despawned upon a previous visit to this cell, so this wolf has graciously showed up to project this image into our minds of what his remains are supposed to look like. He's been frozen in ice. By where his remains are supposed to be, we can find a staff of ice spikes and an altar upon which we can find Rundi's dagger, confirming the identity of the Nord that's meant to be before us, but isn't for me. I apologise for that, but this is Skyrim, and scuffed is certainly the word. There's also an alchemy skill book titled Manimarco, King of Worms here, and I suppose it never hurts to up your skills where you can. Per the Balding Breton statement, the twins, though they seldom agreed on anything at all, were experimenting with frost magic to chill mead they'd been brewing in order to compete with Hunningbrew mead, which does sound like an absurd way to go about it, but who am I to judge? It would, however, appear as if the chilling did backfire. But the question is, of course, where is the other brother? Well, Borvir can be found at a marked location known as Journeyman's Nook, an ancient Nordic structure of some description, but that's not what's important. What is important, however, is that Borvir's remains can be found inside, with a bandit standing over his body. I'm not entirely sure what he was doing here, but perhaps this was the site of the brothers' camp. Perhaps they split off to experiment separately. As Finis said, they rarely agreed on anything, As for Borvir's cause of death, it's fairly obvious. He was killed by the bandit. Why? Well, he doesn't have any boots. I doubt he came out into the blistering cold without any boots on. It's unclear if he's aware of his brother's demise, but by his body we can find his dagger, identifying him as Borvir, killed by a lonely bandit because he too was out here alone. Even if he wasn't, his brother would have been promoted to Icicle by this point, otherwise they'd both be dead here. And so that concludes finding out what happened to the College of Winterhold's 4 missing apprentices. 1 played with fire and paid the price. 1 played with illusion magic beyond her skill level and suffered for it. A 3rd somehow managed to freeze himself, and his brother died at the hands of a lone bandit. None of them were partaking in anything hugely dangerous in the grand scheme of magicka in the Elder Scrolls universe, just simply beyond them, at least for the first 3. As a result, maybe their deaths could have been avoided had those with greater expertise at the College of Winterhold provided more guidance. And that's really all you'd be able to do with regards to the missing apprentices in vanilla Skyrim. However, thanks to the cutting room floor mod, we can return to the College of Winterhold and inform on the demises of Ysra, Elastai, Rundi and Borvir to see how this insignificant miscellaneous quest was going to end. I found Elastai.
Oh dear. I had particularly high hopes for her. Once she had overcome her difficulties, she could have been quite successful here.
I also have Rundi's dagger.
It certainly is. Was, I suppose. He would never have willingly parted with it. What a shame.
Ysra's a bit dead as well.
Gods. This is hers, isn't it? She will certainly be missed.
And I found this. It belonged to Borvir.
Yes, I recognize it. Well, I suppose I needn't wonder where he is anymore.
So, that's me. I've found all the missing apprentices.
Well, all of the previous apprentices have been accounted for thanks to you. Here, why don't you take this? It was intended to be given to the best in their group, as a reward for their hard work. It's the least I can do for your help in putting this matter to rest. Oh dear, I didn't mean to say it like that. That wasn't a joke, really.
So as you can tell, the content the mod added back in isn't really that huge, nor do we really learn any extra details of note. However, unlike in the game's vanilla state, at least we can close the book on the missing apprentices. But there is a broader point to be made that these apprentices are but a part of. In fact, it appears to be quite common for apprentices to meet their demise in horrific or otherwise esoteric ways, and though I can imagine the likelihood of such doom is quite high among mages, there are some noteworthy details and lines of dialogue that might suggest faculty to be somewhat negligent. That said, however, there is a flip side. Upon our arrival here at the College of Winterhold, we partake in one lesson where we learn to cast a meagre lesser ward spell and are then immediately sent on a dungeon crawl through Sarthal, which entails an admittedly interesting discovery in the form of the Eye of Magnus, and then we're immediately sent to report our findings to the Archmage, who blurts out with this.
Please don't tell me that another one of the apprentices has been incinerated. I have enough to deal with right now.
This would imply an apprentice has been incinerated within Sarthal in recent memory, at least to Savos Aaron here. Considering his exasperated expectation of such news, I'd be willing to bet it's occurred more than once. While we're on the topic of Sarthal, when in the ruins, while under the instruction of good old Tolfdir, and as friendly as he is, it's worth noting that Lesser Ward spell is completely useless in this environment. One of his colleagues sends us to pick up magical artifacts that activates a trap. Ideal. The point I'm getting at is the apprentices of the College of Winterhold are subject to some serious endangerment at the hands of their superiors. But let's not stop there, let's spare a moment for fellow apprentices. For example, Brelina. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She literally turns you into a cow, which she didn't intend to do, and though you did agree to be a part of the experiment, and being a whole selection of animals other than a human being is certainly a cool existence, I think it's fair to say there's a lot of horsing around Suppose the point is there's a lot of recklessness going around the college, and there's certainly enough ego to go with it among the apprentices. Brelina, being descended from a line of powerful Telvanni mages, has an awful lot of expectation placed on her. And though the college isn't forcing her to attempt to master more complex spells at an early stage, the thought of her family certainly does, leading to clumsy spells, for instance, turning the Dragonborn into a bovine. J'zargo is an arrogant cat who strives to be the best among the college's students. He's obsessed with mastering expert-level destruction spells, and sends you out in the world repeatedly to test scrolls with unpredictable effects. You can certainly see why people would wind up dead at this college, because in every which direction caution is not getting its day, but it's not like the apprentice mages are children or even novices. They're capable mages with the potential to expand their knowledge and the will to do so. The path to mastering harnessing magicka is just fraught with danger, and that can't be mitigated to a degree. And if there was a less risky option to take, come the end, would you even be a master? There's also another point to make, and that is corruption. In the midden during the College of Winterhold quest that takes us there, we can find this book, and it is titled The Midden Incident Report and reads as follows. The missing students were found in the midden this morning, dead as expected. None of us bothered keeping a detect life charm for the search at this point. The bodies were found together, each suffering the same deformities, peeled and bubbling skin on the arms and face, conjurer's burn as it's commonly referred to around the college. There's little doubt they were attempting a summoning ritual well beyond their capabilities. The relic nearby put any doubt in this theory to rest. I admit that I've never seen one like it, a large, segmented sculpture of a gauntlet, the Daedric sigil, emblazoned upon the palm. Attempts to move it were in vain. I must show it to Archmage Sedoth during his upcoming visit. Perhaps he will know more. While we couldn't move the relic, I was able to pry 4 rings from it. I'm sure there's a connection between them and the ritual the students were attempting. I'll store these in the Arcanium until we can consult with the Conjuration Master to learn more. So something to do with this gauntlet in the centre of the room appears to have slain a few members of the College of Winterhold. It instigates an interesting offshoot quest of its own. But to cut a long story short, on account of relevance, the souls of the students who attempted to mess with this gauntlet have been trapped in oblivion. It's unclear if they knew what they were doing, but it is clear that they were attempting a summon they couldn't handle, furthering the point that perhaps magic is just dangerous and total guidance isn't the purview of the College of Winterhold. And while we're down here, there's also the Augur of Dunlane, a former mage whose pursuit of knowledge and power resulting in his soul becoming fused with the energy surrounding the college. As a result, he's effectively living energy now. But I don't wish to draw out the back end of this video by making half points. But on the one hand, the College of Winterhold clearly has a problem with its members dying in particularly specific ways, and though it comes across as negligence on account of wantonly stumbling into situations that require a higher skill level than maybe apprentices possess, I don't think that was the primary intent of the missing apprentices. Rather, I think the main point to take away from the missing apprentices is a cautionary reminder that magic is dangerous, and when engaging with it, the risk of unsavory consequence is high. And so, that's where I wish to end today's video before I run the risk of waffling on further. To conclude, the College of Winterhold's missing apprentices highlights the dangers that come with being a mage, but they also highlight that the college's function is not to stand over the shoulders of young apprentices, but rather provide them with somewhere where they can study and practice their skills away from the suspicious folk of the land. But still, the mastery of any given field of magic is a perilous path, and only those worthy of surviving it do. Perhaps that's a twisted truth, but it is nonetheless the truth. But thanks for stomaching this babble of mine. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Be sure to go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends, all that wonderful stuff. It would be massively appreciated, of course. And with any luck, I'll be seeing you all very soon with another video at some point. But until next time, please take care, and goodbye.